With the anticipation of Age of Overlord, the new metagame, we're going to talk about a few things that you're going to want to keep an eye on in today's market. Don't make 30% up. Just make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. Number one on the list here is going to be the NOUVELLES. So, we should be heading into the block here where we should be seeing new power-ups for Vanquishal, technically Transcendrake, which actually is very interesting because technically Transcendrake isn't like an it's an archetype, but it's not an archetype because it's generic dinosaur support that just has a name. I don't know. It's an entirely interesting paradigm to see how they're going to support that. And then, you know, Vanquishal. But NOUVELLES is the one that seems like it's the cheapest out of everything. When you're looking at an archetype, the first few things that you want to check are, is this stuff going to be very, very cheap, very, very readily available? This deck checks the first box because it only has 2 Ultras out of the set, one of them being the field spell. All right, so that's an incredibly easy indicator there. You have higher rarity aspects that you can pull, something like the Hungry Burger, which is a fantastic card in and in itself for collectors. It's amazing that it's maintained the price that it has. And then the rest of the support is all low rarity. So when you're looking at this and you're going, you know, is there the possibility of, you know, something, you know, going off here and possibly rising up in price? The answer is yes, 100%. The Burger deck is by far one of the coolest decks in the entire set, and especially if it gets some sort of power up. I'm not exactly sure what they can bring to the table for this to make it a little bit better, but the possibility for another ritual spell, another effect monster that generically works with it, I mean, even another powered up ritual monster to expedite the process for the interactions, or maybe tributing from the opponent's hand, would be all very interesting things that they could add to this deck, because the entire deck works on the opponent's turn. So there are many, many things that they can do to make this a lot better. Next up is going to be keeping an eye on CYBERDARK support. So we did get what appeared to be the new Future Overload Fusion spell card. Now, the cool thing about that is it basically speeds up the process for summoning out, well, CYBERDARK and Dragon, or, you know, the ability to dump from the the ability to drum from the main deck. My apologies there. Basically, you're trying to speed up the process to make regular CYBERDARK Dragon. But remember, with all of the dumping tools that we have available to us right now, the entire aspect of Cyber Dragons and CYBERDARKs, that bridge that, you know, hasn't really been crossed yet, that deck is coming more and more together. I like how it's 25 years into the game's history here. You're looking more at the CYBERDARK cards, and you're kind of going, wow, you know, as each stepping stone kind of comes around here in terms of new support, it looks like we're getting one step closer to this. Now, with that being said, considering all the themes and everything that we've had kind of powering up here, I wouldn't be surprised at this point in time if we see some more CYBERDARK / CyberEnd support come down the way, especially with the promo card that we just got out of V-Jump. I'm not sure if it's going to be anytime soon, but I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. So, coming off of a structure deck here, you definitely got to look at this and go, you know, this seems like it could be something really cool. I live for a day that we can make CYBERDARK and Dragon really, really easily, because it is one of the coolest guards in the entire game, fundamentally, just for the way that the card looks. It is such a cool boss monster, and they just did CyberDragon support a little bit ago in Rush Duel, so fingers are crossed that we'll see something, or hopefully that the promo is an indicator for something to come. If not, I mean, you hold your structure decks for the rainy day that actually comes. Next up is Glow Up Bulb. You know, Glow Up Bulb didn't come off of the last ban list. A lot of people were kind of looking around. A lot of people were actually very sad about this, because Glow Up Bulb is one of those cards that is kind of crazy, actually. Anytime that you have a tuner monster that can revive itself, oh wait, this essentially makes the Barkion engine a lot easier to access. Yeah, that's the problem with it. Alright, you have a tuner monster that if you're worried about tier, well, don't get me wrong, alright, at this stage, tier in the format wasn't exactly one of the craziest things in the room, but if Konami's really scared, that's the same reason why they're keeping Orcus locked up, maybe there will come a time where, you know, maybe this card will come back, but I just wanted to put a little bit of a disclaimer out here and say, hey, you know, Duelist Nexus is coming up here in the future. It is the next round of, you know, good stuff support here. So what's going on? Can we see Globe Bulb actually come back? There's a possibility for anything. I think at this stage, of the fact that people were looking at Globe Bulb as an option to come back and follow the suit with the OCG, it's just that. But you got to be aware that you need to keep an eye on the card. We're already seeing alties still over the $100 mark. People were like, all right, well, you know, it dodged this list. You know, what's the possibility of it in the future? Well, I'll say the same thing. If this is something that I think I need, I'd go ahead and pick it up. The commons are nothing. All right, and the thing that always kicks it around is, you know, high rarities will always go up. If you have these, I'd probably consider moving them sometime in the near future, because, you know, there is also the possibility that, you know, maybe initial unbanning will be the only thing to sell the card. So think about that. That's definitely something to really consider out here. Next up is Anti-Spell Fragrance. Oh boy, let me tell you about Anti-Spell at this point in time. Anti-Spell is one of the craziest cards in the game. The fact that pendulums can't be placed when it's active, the fact that your opponent literally cannot play the game because now they have to set all of their spells for an entire turn. It is essentially an Imperial Order, but as a negate. Its entire premise is to stop your opponent from playing the game for one turn while you are able to capitalize and win the game. And you wonder why people think that this card is a problem for the game. Well, we're heading back into a format right now where people are looking at this card and they're going, wow, you know, do I need to pick up Anti-Spells? I feel like the trend with these sorts of videos here is we look at Anti-Spell and we go, wow, you know, like, it's not good right now. It falls out of favor. We come back a couple months later, guess what? It returns right back into value, right back to where we were. And guess what? You now have collector's rares. You still have the secret rares from way back in the day. And then you have an infinite armada of lower rarity versions. Moral of the story here, if you don't think that Anti-Spell isn't going to see some sort of play, then don't pick them up. But if you want to be prepared for the possible metagame change, or, I mean, really return back to Anti-Spell Fragrance, this is one of those heads up to go, hey, you know, maybe you want to keep an eye on this. Maybe this is one of those cards that, you know, as the metagame does its thing, you're going to want to have. And particularly, I think it is one of those cards that you are going to want to make sure that you have a set of, especially in low rarity. But to be fair, I mean, it's just a matter of time till the higher rarity versions tend to, you know, go up in price more so over time. So, yay, Anti-Spell Fragrance. Last thing I want to talk about here is TEARLAMENTS, the high roll of high roll decks. This deck appears to be a little bit of a sleeper in certain aspects. To the players that actually genuinely are looking at Tier right now going, wow, you know, like, this is, you know, seems like it could actually do something here. Yeah, 100%. It is, I think, by far one of the decks in the format that has one of the highest ceilings for the things that it can actually bring to the table. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Players always kind of wonder, like, oh, you know, like, oh, this is just pure anticipation. No, I've seen this deck do stuff. We've seen it out of some of the top cuts at some of the events. I just want to say, everything is cheap for Tier. All right, like, you went from one of the highest points in the format's history, but Robbie Paralinio's expensive. I mean, okay, look, a field spell is a field spell, all right? It is the thing that makes this deck what it is. And I once again, I'm going to stay by what I just said. I think that Tier is something that you're going to want to have. It is one of the highest reward decks that you can have. It's one of the most skill-based decks in the game. And yeah, it does have a luck factor to it, but what Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck doesn't feel like that it has a luck factor at this point in time. When you draw those first opening 5 cards, that determines the entire course of the game. Do with that info, you know, personally what you will at that stage. So I actually think that that's very interesting. So these are the choices for things that I would keep an eye on for today. So please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.